So now on this video we will be taking a look at a popular Core i5 variant of the mainstream Ivy Bridge CPU. So the CPU in the socket right now is the Core i5 3570K. The CPU is pretty good on water cooling and I would like to give it a go on LN2. Now, as you can see, the CPU is delidded, and running a delidded Ivy Bridge on LN2 is not so easy as you might think. Delidding actually first started being a really big thing among the wide audience when these Ivy Bridge CPUs came out to the market in 2012. These were pretty much the first high performance oriented CPUs that had normal thermal interface material between the die and the IHS instead of soldering. Yes, we do know that in the past, well before these Ivy Bridge CPUs, Intel used to use thermal interface material instead of soldering on some of their at least lower end CPU models. But with the launch of the original Ivy Bridge CPUs, delidding really started being a really big thing among the wide audience, because the normal users, they really got obsessed with the CPU delidding. Folks who only use air or water cooling, you can easily reduce the core temperatures even up to 30 degrees if you remove the stock thermal interface material used by Intel with something like liquid metal. But sadly, when we go on LN2, we cannot use liquid metal because the performance is really bad when you go below zero. I've actually tried it myself and the result was very bad. So we have to use a normal conventional thermal paste when we go sub-zero with these delidded CPUs. Now, about Ivy Bridge CPUs, there was a huge debate about CPU delidding for LN2 on the HWBot forums in 2012 and 2013. If you look at that thread, only the bow managed to get better clock speed after delidding, and 90% or 95% of the guys who actually tried it, they lost a few hundred megahertz on the end CPU clock speed. And that's not the reason of delidding. That's not the reason that the Intel's thermal paste solution is just wonderful on LN2. The reason is very simple why people lost so much on the clock speed. They all cracked. We didn't really know that much about thermal paste cracking back during those times. It really took us a lot of time to learn how to avoid thermal paste cracking when we go on LN2 and approach the maximum temperatures of LN2. I think the wide audience or the wide amount of the people in the community, they really started learning the thing with the release of the original Skylake, or during Skylake, when Skylake 6700K was the fastest mainstream CPU on the market. That was the time when I actually learned to run full pot temperatures with delidded CPU myself as well. It really took us a lot of time to learn how to run the maximum temperature of LN2 with these delidded CPUs, and we still even learn it today with the newest graphics card generations, RTX 2080 Ti, 3090, 3090 Ti, RTX 4090. We still have issues to run those cards at full pot temperatures, even when the thing is not about GPU delidding, but the same thing happens with those cards as well. It's really hard to avoid thermal paste cracking with those cards when you go colder than -150. It was the same thing with Fermi graphics cards as well, GTX 480 or GTX 580. It was very easy to run the card at maximum temperature of LN2, so full pot temperatures, if you use the original IHS installed by Nvidia. But after you delidded the graphics card, even after you saw some pretty nice temperature reductions on ambient cooling, it was extremely hard to run the card again at full pot temperatures. So some people actually thought they ruined the card by delidding the GPU. It's the same thing over there. What happens with these CPUs like the Ivy Bridge 3770K or the 3570K. So I run these CPUs a lot on LN2, and the thermal paste cracking can happen easily even today in 2023 if you use a normal IHS and the newest thermal paste options we have on the market right now, like Cryonaut or the Cryonaut Extreme from Thermal Grizzly or the Kingpin Cooling KPX. You can run the CPU successfully at full pot temperatures even with IHS and normal LN2 container like the T-REX from Kingpin Cooling. But what I realized was that I had a lot better success rate when I ran direct die solution on the CPU. So what you can see in front of the camera right now, you cannot see any normal IHS on top of the CPU's die. You can see that weird looking bracket that holds down the CPU in the socket, like even if I had a normal CPU with IHS installed. There were many ways people tried to run direct die. Some people ran like this, and some people, especially in the past, they didn't use the ILM at all, and they just went with something ghetto and tried to run the CPU direct die without the original mounting pressure of the ILM. I tried it myself and it had a lot of issues. If you didn't have the normal mounting pressure across the whole pin array, you easily lost contact on some of the CPU socket pins at like -110. So it was very difficult and you could actually risk something getting damaged. So this is the very best way to run the CPU direct die if you have something that holds down the CPU in the socket, just like even if you had a normal CPU with the normal IHS installed on top of the die itself. This direct die solution first started being a real big thing once again when the X CPUs came out of the market in like late 2017, I think, like 2017 and very early 2018. Some people in the community, they modified their LN2 containers and ran the CPU direct die just like this. I think even Debao used it with Skylake X and Lake X, and I saw some Japanese guys modifying Kingpin Cooling Venom containers for this solution, but only few guys actually tried this. Not everyone, but a few, because especially with the Skylake X CPUs, the thermal paste cracking was really annoying, and it really happens easily when you run the CPU at very high loads for long periods of time. So what I did, as there were no ready solutions available on the market in terms of LN2 pots, like no direct die container was available from any of the manufacturers like Kingpin Cooling or the other guys who actually produced these containers, I actually took out my original CPU container I purchased in late 2012. This is the very original SF3D Inflection Point CPU container made by Ryba in Poland. Ryba actually made the original SF3D containers, and then it was replaced by the EK variant in 2013, I believe. And nowadays I think the EK SF3D containers are pretty much gone from the market because people don't really buy them anymore, especially the CPU container, because it's very, very bad. The EK variant of the Inflection Point only has very tiny base that connects with the IHS of the target CPU. It really doesn't work with the new CPUs, the new large CPUs of today. The contact area at the base is way too small for the large CPUs of these days in the modern world. So the original EK or the original SF3D Inflection Point made by Ryba was actually a lot better than the EK variant. The internal design is completely same. The only difference is pretty much in nickel plating and in the base design. So I took the original container from my closet in late 2017 or very early 2018, and I sent this container to Bartx in Poland. Bartx makes a lot of his own like very simple dry ice and LN2 containers for CPU, but I think his most like known product is the custom heat spreaders for different CPUs and custom heat sinks for memory and M.2 drives, etc. I've tried a lot of his custom heat sinks for memory, especially the power chip fine-tuned DDR3 heat sinks are very good. Those are very, very good. So I sent the container to Bartx in Poland and he modified this container for direct die. So you can see the container only has very tiny contact area at the center over here. So this square formation over here. And it's the same size what's the like the hole on that bracket on the CPU that's now installed in the socket. I don't know, are these thermal pads necessary around the contact area over here? That was advised by Bartx that it would make the mount a little bit safer or easier. I've tried both ways, so with these thermal pads as well as with nothing around the center over here, and both ways work just fine for me. I think the thickness of these thermal pads is only like 3 millimeters or so, but I think if you use something to ease the mounting pressure on the die itself, it could reduce the risk of any potential damage on the die itself, because the die is just silicone. It's quite fragile, so if you slam a very heavy container directly against it without any pressure, like spreading on a wider area, it could damage something in the worst case, but I'm not really sure. So this was actually made by him. And the bracket over there, that's actually not meant for Ivy Bridge CPUs. That bracket over there is the mainstream Intel bracket he made for this container for me, and that's actually meant for the original Coffee Lake 8700K, because 8700K also had thermal interface material between the die and the IHS, and the other bracket I received was the Kaby Lake X bracket for X299, so the 7740X and so on. But the bracket actually works fine on these Ivy Bridge CPUs. I've had many successful sessions already with these Ivy Bridge CPUs using this bracket and this direct die solution. I had the very best success rate in terms of thermal paste cracking with this method. I think I've cracked only one time with this solution, and with IHS and normal container I've had a lot of thermal paste cracking issues. It doesn't happen like 100%, but sometimes even 4 times out of 5 attempts the thermal paste cracked, and it's very annoying because it usually happens between -170 and -190, and if it happens, you often even hear it when it happens. You have to stop the session, dry up everything and remount everything, and that's very annoying when it happens. So we obviously don't want the thermal paste to crack, so it's actually the best method based on my testing to use a direct die solution like this. Now, what I've done to prepare the system for this kind of attempt, I'm using the Maximus 5 Extreme motherboard. I'm using the heater plate behind the motherboard, as I'm going to be trying the memories on LN2 as well. I'm using the Elmore Labs heater plate that covers both the CPU and the memory area, because it really helps with the condensation when you run the memory on LN2 as well, and you can adjust different temperatures at different parts of the motherboard or on the backplate, so we can have very warm temperatures directly behind the memory slots over there, and it definitely helps when you run the memory on LN2 as well. I'm using just Vaseline on both sides of the motherboard. I'm using Armaflex closed cell foam insulation around the socket area. So you can see it's over there, the black and soft material, and just normal shop towels around the socket or around the CPU in the socket. I could add another layer of Armaflex insulation foam now around the CPU, but I want to make as idiot-proof mounting as possible. So I don't want to risk the mount going wrong with extra layers of Armaflex insulation. So I think this is just fine. And then we can just push the insulation around the container as down as we can, and it should provide an airtight seal around the CPU itself. What I realized with the Ivy Bridge CPUs, especially the 3570K, is that the die itself is not perfectly centered on the CPU's PCB. Compared to Haswell 4770K, the die itself a little bit more to the leftwards, so towards this side of the CPU socket. So it's very hard to get the die directly at the center of that hole in that bracket over there, because in the best case you want the die to be at 100% centered at the base of the container, where the container connects the die. That way you get the best success rate against thermal paste cracking, and also the best temperatures in terms of mount quality. So now I pushed the bracket as left as I could, and there's actually not much space remaining anymore on this side of the ILM to hold the bracket down in the socket. So it's actually pretty difficult, and especially the Core i5 variant, the die is a little bit smaller compared to the i7 version, so the 3770K. So there's actually a lot more space remaining on this side of the die compared to this side of the die, but I cannot make it any better than this because the bracket is already hitting the ILM bracket over here. So this is the best result I managed to do, but I think it should work fine. The hardest part is obviously getting the pot mounted, because the center because the hole is kind of small, and you have to fit the pot perfectly, because it only goes in one way, because it has to match the edges of the bracket like perfectly to be able to get it mounted on top of the die. Now you actually have to cover the die completely with thermal paste to get the best result in terms of paste cracking. So you can see I've covered the whole thing with thermal paste. And that's the same thing what you would have to do even if you used a normal IHS with the CPU. You have to cover the whole thing with thermal paste, and then you have the best success rate in terms of thermal paste cracking. That's the same thing what De Bauer also mentioned on some of his videos a long time ago. We have to cover the whole thing with thermal paste. So now I would like to do the pot installation of camera, and then I will show you the steps after that and how it actually looks like. So that's how the CPU pod looks like when it's installed on top of the die. You can see it doesn't really wiggle or move compared to normal pod installation when you have it installed on top of any CPU IHS. Now, due to this pod design and how the pod is being installed, I usually want to add the pod installation during this moment of the mounting procedure. So I'm using just some Armaflex closed cell foam insulation around the pod itself, and we have to add the insulation at this part of the mounting procedure because it's easier to get the pod installed when you don't have the insulation around the pod itself. So that should provide an airtight seal around the CPU, that is. And now we only have to get the hold down bracket installed. Okay, like so, and just normal mounting gear. I'm actually using the Kingpin Cooling T-REX mounting gear, but doesn't really matter. Okay, and that's pretty much how the pod looks like. I don't go like fully all the way in, but pretty close to maximum of the springs. I do prefer using springs between the thumb nuts and the hold down bracket because it should make the mount safer, especially due to the shrinking when you run the pot at very cold temperatures. But that's pretty much how it looks like. So it doesn't actually differ that much compared to normal like pot mounting with IHS. And then we just wrap the container with some shop towels and it's pretty much ready to go. So that's how I do it. And now after this, I will just install the memories with the honeycomb RAM container, and I will install everything on the bench table, and we should be good to go. So now I will meet you again when everything is pretty much ready and we can start running the CPU on LN2. And here's the final system itself. So now with the Bartx honeycomb RAM container on top of the Patriot Viper 2 Sector 5 2500 Cas9 sticks with Bartx DDR3 copper heatsinks, which are like specifically tuned for power chip based DDR3 memories, double-sided that is. Those are very good heatsinks for DDR3 memory if you want to try memory on LN2. So Superflower LEAD-X 8-pack 2000 watt platinum rated power supply. Now I'm starting in Windows XP because the first thing I want to try is W Prime, and I actually managed to get the Turbo V core working on this platform and with this CPU. It's back in the day in 2012 there still wasn't Turbo V core available. The one that comes with the AI suite is the Turbo V Evo, and it's a lot more clumsy compared to Turbo V Core. I managed to get it working both in Windows XP as well as in Windows 7. Windows 7 was easier. The thing you need to install is the chipset driver and management engine interface. But when I installed the management engine myself manually, it didn't work. But after installing the AI suite, it started working. So it seems to install maybe another version and some of the ICSS something like, or ICCSS something else as well, which made it to work. So we'll start in Windows XP. The BIOS version I'm using is 0022, which for me was the best BIOS for LN2 to use on the Ivy Bridge CPUs. If I can get completely along with Turbo V Core, I don't have to utilize the OC key. The OC key would probably be the best for validation as well as PyFast and 1M because it's even more lightweight compared to Turbo V Core when you run those single threaded stuff. But yeah, I will only use the memory on LN2 if the CPU is good enough to make it worth it to try the single threaded stuff as well. So doubly prime first, then I will move on to Windows 7 for Cinebench, at least Cinebench, maybe GPU Pi 1 billion and Geekbench, etc. But yeah, so the Elmore Labs heater plate is powered from the secondary power supply from over there, NMAX Max Revo. So let's start this whole thing. Let's see how it goes. It's pretty awesome to run the original, my very first LN2 container once again. Okay, you can see 6150. I think the target is 6.6 for this CPU. I already had cold boot bug issues at minus 50 without raising the base clock. So some Ivy Bridge CPUs are pretty annoying this for this reason. So we can do a very quick attempt at I'm at minus 145 at the moment, 1.78 volts on the V core. I have no idea on like what's the maximum score or the target score we are looking. So if I raise to 60, that should give like 6359. So 4813. I think it's 4 something seconds. Could my motherboard have some issues? It's 4.437, the target score. 6.5. I will cool down to minus 160. Okay, already 6.4 plus and only at minus 160 something, so that already tells we still have temperature headroom remaining. I try to go to full pot temperatures now, but Ivy Bridge is more affected by temperature instead of voltage. So we can do a very quick test again. Okay, it should be okay, like no cracking whatsoever. I need to refill some LN2 soon. I don't know what's this. Four, 5, 15. The next one should be well over 6.6. But trust me, based on my knowledge, okay, delidding does help. Trust me, it really does help. You just have to avoid the cracking. So 4 threads. Okay, we hang. We need to raise voltage. Temperature reading is minus 195. To be sure we haven't cracked at this moment, I still want to run at this voltage the stuff we were just running. Like 6.2 was fine. For higher we need to raise the voltage. If the issue is IMC, then it's not looking very good because we need IMC if we want to challenge the 32 amp score, for example. Four, 437. I think that should be a shared rank 1. Yeah, that's a shared rank 1 score, so that is definitely a good result already. Close to 6.7. Yeah, the memory does suck, but it is pretty interesting, I have to say. So we just need a tiny bit more, but no guarantees we will be able to take down, how's it called, 1024 amp. Okay, that's a new rank 1 score in W prime 32 with Core i5 3570K. I really don't always remember these numbers or get them figured out. So 1024 amp is by Tapaka at 6.5. I think we can do that. I really think we can do that. Okay, a bit of improvement. .663. Still don't know fully sure about the efficiency. Now my efficiency is not the best because the top score in W prime 32 was made at spot on 6.6. So I needed a pretty huge margin to go beyond that one. So if we try this, this is 6.7. So 6.7 is a pretty nice baseline for multi-core performance on Ivy Bridge, any Ivy Bridge, especially the i5 variant. No certainty will this pass. Yeah, passed. Now I probably wanna run something like 1 amp. For PyFast I start to need memory. I need to figure out what's going on with the IMC. It doesn't wanna post and boot any proper memories. I need to figure out what's going on. So I will definitely leave this like so. For single threaded stuff I might need to disable some of the cores. So we have both W primes. The Windows 7 stuff is not as worthy on this CPU model, only the R11.5, but even that memory helps. 1 amp you can technically get the top 1 amp with baseline memories because it's so short test. So it's very hard to say. What's the top score? 5.25. 5.328. So yeah, you can definitely get the top score even with baseline memories. Okay, give me a thumbs up. $7,022, I think we get it. Yeah, we got it. For sure we got it. $7,030. Yeah, definitely need to rerun the stuff with just 1 core. This first core is absolutely enormous. The same thing as on my other 3770K. 7,087. 7.1. No! I think we didn't get 7.1. Yeah, no 7.1. Be fast. I'm pretty sure we got it. $7,119. 7.2 3570K would be enormous. $7,135. This is very hard. 7,155. No slow mode. No, no. Now this is well below, but well above 7. Don't feel great about this though. Okay, 10.31. The memory is the weak point over here. I think we can try 6.6. It'll be tough, but we'll see. Yeah. So I'll run 5.9 first. Then just higher B clock. 11 FPS should be the rank 1 score. Yeah, spot on 11 at 6.649. So this is actually the toughest one of them all, it seems. We need good efficiency to challenge this one. Yeah, very good CPU that guy has. But we might have some good efficiency. Yeah, you see, almost 11. Almost 11. I think this will be it. But it's a good question mark. Does the guy have backups? But it was already made over 10 years ago, so probably not. Shot 777 from China again. Memory is okay, but not the best possible, and we got the new rank 1 score. .6. Okay, I think it's best to just do very simple runs on these less important tests like R15, R20, X2654K, well GPU Pi 1 billion first, so that I don't have to come back to this CPU just for these scores. So let's try this. So let's run this. This should be easy because many of the tops are only made of like 6.2, so 655-ish almost. So R15 is 906 by Mat26 from the UK at 6.287. League hoofed from Belgium at 6.321. 6.3 most. Joe curve is 6.16. So I bet my score is like 930 something. Yeah, more, 945. Okay, then we do R20, same thing as well. This takes a bit longer. R20 was, or R15 was an important one still. R20 not so popular anymore with this old gen. Rank 1 by some Polish guy at 1706. Only 5.6 gigahertz, kind of demonstrates how less popular this test has been with this old platform. I think R20 came out a few years after the release of Ivy Bridge in 2012. So I think my score should be over 2000. 2000 something, no idea. Oh! Actually, less than what I expected, so only 2009. 6547, 48, whatever. And then from here, we move on to GPU Pi 1 billion. I need to check what are the settings used by the current rank 1. Okay, a bit of software related issues. I forgot we need to use the AMD one, not the Intel one. For GPU Pi, I just want to double check this first. Like which one is better. 2512 or like 4512. Usually these older platforms, best was like 4512 or 5512. 14436. I want to see the second loop first. Should be like 29 something. 28969. Yeah, this looks much better. Yeah. Okay, that's like a 26-second gain over the previous top score made by Mat26 from the UK. Yet another pretty awesome score. Yet these are the less important ones because of like how old this platform is and what was popular back in the day. So 6658, very good frequency. I think this will do. Okay, Geekbench 4 multi-score is 2433, 2947, 6967 versus 6731. So we got it. Now this is one of the few times I'm running a GPU Pi 100 million. But the record score anyways, 26 point something was the previous top score I think. X2654K, 1080p first. $24,049. We need to run real time, even though we already got it. I think 4K was only because it's so long duration, it wasn't running, I mean not real time, I mean overkill mode. .44. I think this is already like maybe 14 second, like over 10 second improvement, I'm sure. Like absolutely enormous. Like considering how heavily these were binned and tested back in the day in 2012. This is just absolutely insane. And well, that went much better than what I expected. Well, I already knew at the start that this CPU would be good, but it did much better than what I expected because I just looked at the rankings and they all looked so high, like very hard to beat. But in effect, I think I managed to take down all of them, even many of the less important scores, like W'32, 1024M. I got them straight away, even with just very basic memories like at SPD level stuff, etc. Then I realized the CPU has very strong single core, so I managed to take down the 1M, PyFast, 32M a few times, and that was pretty much it for Windows XP and well, validation up to 7.155. I'm still not sure will I upload the very best score of each benchmark. I still don't know. At least I will upload the best validation because it was kind of cool, as you could follow it when I was kind of laughing to myself. And yeah, in Windows 7, Citybench R11.5, R15, R20, Geekbench 3, Geekbench 4, GPU Pi 1 billion, 100 million, X2654K and 1080p. That's pretty much it. So I ended up messing around with memory a lot during this session because I just thought there was something wrong with the IMC. I wanted to make sure and everything, but it was actually for some reason this rig, this CPU with this memory, etc., it didn't like the normal profile I've been using this far when it comes to memory. So I started with these sticks initially, then I switched to G-Skill Pi, I switched to G-Skill Trident X, the Samsung D-Die, but I realized the memory score wasn't so good in Geekbench 3, etc., and well, as well as in 32M. At the very end, I went back to the original, so the Patriot Viper 2 Sector 5, 2500 Cas9, and I managed to do very strong score in, well, in Geekbench 3 and in 32M as well. But yeah, I still don't know will I upload the very best score of each benchmark. This is one of the few times I've really went through the entire list, and it's fun to do it with 3570K, which was a hugely popular CPU back in 2012 and early 2013. Huge thanks to Eden from Sweden for helping me out with many of these CPUs. It's very awesome to be able to cooperate with some of my fans to really hunt for some new awesome chips. But yeah, so huge milestone. Awesome to take down these scores. I still have maybe 30 liters of liquid nitrogen remaining. I will go through many of my brand new old CPUs and will probably use one of those CPUs if I find a good one that could potentially be a record capable chip. But yeah, so all of these scores at the time of you watching this video, all of the scores have been uploaded to hardwarepod.org. So definitely check them out if you are interested in them. Please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, and maybe check out my Patreon page as well if you want to support my work. And yeah, thanks for watching one of my videos once again, and I will see you on the next one.